Welcome to FM Education Academy, a place where quality content is provided to you all. It is on your request that we make most of our videos. So if you have any request, comment below and also let me know how's the Josh. Are you enjoying our lectures? Are you understanding our lectures? So let's start. In this video lecture, we are going to see Intermediate First Year Chemistry TS AP Syllabus Unit 1 Atomic Structure. Atomic Structure. Before starting, I would like to say the rich diversity of chemical behavior of different elements can be traced to the differences in the internal structure of atoms of these elements. That is, we have so many different elements nowadays and they have the different chemical behavior. So because they have different chemical behavior, it means that they have so many different internal structure of atoms. Now, from when did atoms exist? Atoms existed since 400 BC. What is the meaning of atom? Atom means uncuttable or non-divisible, and atom comes from the Greek word atomia. The atomic theory of matter, Dalton's atomic theory, was first proposed by John Dalton in 1808. Why we are talking about Dalton's atomic theory is that Dalton stated that only atom is the last particle of matter. No other particle of matter is the smallest matter, as he said. He said only atom is the smallest atomic particle. So, see, Dalton's atomic theory regarded atom as the ultimate particle of matter. There were some advantages of Dalton's atomic theory, like he was able to explain law of conservation of mass, law of conservation of constant composition, law of multiple proportion. We will see in later stages what all these laws are. But he failed to explain the results of many experiments. For example, he was not able to say whether glass or ebonite, when rubbed with silk or fur, get electrically charged. You have performed this activity in your school. When you rub glass or ebonite, electricity is produced. But he could not explain this. So this was a disadvantage for Dalton's atomic theory. So in this unit, we will start with the experimental observations made by scientists towards the end of 19th and beginning of 20th century. So these established that atoms are made of subatomic particles. So unlike Dalton's atomic theory, they were against Dalton's atomic theory. They said that again atoms consisted of subatomic particles. We know what are the subatomic particles? Electrons, protons, and neutrons are the various subatomic particles. So this was a concept which was very different from that of Dalton. Now it is very interesting. So let us continue. So let us see about discovery of subatomic particles. How were these subatomic particles discovered? So as we go into the insight of this structure of atom, how was it obtained? It was obtained from the experiments on electrical discharge through gases. That is, electrical discharge was released. How? Through gases. And then we got to know about structure of atom. Electrical discharge means electricity will be released. Next, before we discuss these results, we need to keep in mind a basic rule about the behavior of charged particles. Since we are telling that atom will consist of subatomic particles and we know subatomic particles will also consist of charged particles, that is positive and negative particles. So we need to keep in mind that like charges repel each other and unlike charges attract each other. Discovery of electron. In 1830, Michael Faraday showed that if electricity is passed through a solution of an electrolyte, that is, suppose there is a solution and suppose in that we have an electrolyte. So, in 1830, there was a scientist, Michael Faraday. He showed that if electricity is being passed through this electrolyte, then chemical reactions will occur at the electrodes. We have these two electrodes, right, in the electrolyte. So whenever electricity is being passed through this electrolyte, suppose purple color is electrolyte, electricity is being passed, there is green color, it's suppose electricity, then what will happen? The charges will be deposited on the electrodes. Okay, and that will result in liberation and deposition of matter at electrodes. So this Michael Faraday, he also formed certain laws, and that we will study in class 12th. So these results suggested that particulate nature of electricity. How the nature of electricity is, he got to know from this experiment. Now let us see about cathode ray discharge tubes. In 1850s, many scientists, mainly Faraday, began to study electrical discharge in partially evacuated tubes like these. These are called as partially evacuated tubes. So they were known as cathode ray discharge tubes because they have an inlet here, we can see. It is depicted in figure 2.1. Depicted means it is shown in this figure. So what is a cathode ray tube? It is made of glass and contains two thin pieces of metal. We can see here we have one piece of metal and here we have another piece of metal. And these are called as electrodes and they are sealed inside this cathode ray discharge tube. The electrical discharge through the gases could be observed only at very low pressures and at very high voltages. Now, electrical discharge means electricity will be passing through it or electricity will be releasing through it. So, when will electricity release through these gases in the discharge tube? Only on two conditions. Only when the pressure of the gas is very low, electrical discharge will be observed, and only when the voltage will be very high, electrical discharge through the gas will be released. Now the pressure of different gases could be adjusted by evacuation of the glass tubes. So by adjusting the glass tubes, the pressure of these gases will be adjusted. Why is it important to adjust pressure? We need low pressures, otherwise electrical discharge won't be obtained, but we want electricity to be generated. So how to generate electricity? Keep the low pressure and keep very high voltage. So whenever sufficiently high voltage is applied across the electrodes, across these electrodes, when we apply very high voltage, the current will start to flow through a stream of particles moving in the tube from the negative electrode cathode. Now this metal piece will be called as negative electrode and that is called as cathode. So whenever the voltage is increased and it is made very high, what happens? Current starts to flow. And how will the current flow? The current starts to flow from negative electrode to the positive electrode. From cathode to anode it will flow. These were called as cathode rays or cathode ray particles. So the particles which are inserted in these gas in this tube, that we are called as cathode ray tube or cathode rays or cathode ray particles. So the flow of current from cathode to anode was further checked by making a hole in the anode. We can observe here this is our anode. So in the anode they made a hole and they coated the tube behind anode with phosphorescent material that is zinc sulfide. We can see here this is our anode. So here a hole is made and they are coating it with a metal called as zinc sulfide. So when these rays after passing through anode strike the zinc sulfide coating, a bright spot is developed on the coating. So why was this done? Why was this coating done apart from anode? This coating was done because whenever the rays, you can see the rays here, whenever the rays are passing from, see here high voltages, this is a battery. So from this high voltage will be generated. When high voltage is generating, the current will flow through cathode, it will go straight like this and it will hit the anode and then it will hit this zinc sulfide because a hole is there and then coating is there. So as the coating is there here, a bright spot will be developed. So what is the result of these experiments? The result of these experiments are summarized as follows. So this is the apparatus which was used as a cathode ray, okay, to determine the charge to the mass ratio of electron. So the result of these experiments are the cathode rays start from cathode and move towards the anode. That already we have seen here, right? They start from cathode and then they move towards the anode. This is one result of the experiment done on the cathode ray discharge tube. Second is, these rays themselves are not visible, but their behavior can be observed with the help of certain kind of materials. So actually the rays are passing, but we cannot see the rays directly. How will we know that there are rays produced? With the help of the materials like we made a coating on the fluorescent or phosphorant. So by those coatings, we can say that the rays are actually passing. Okay, so television picture tubes are cathode ray tubes. That is how on television you get picture, because they are cathode ray tubes and that electricity is passing, but we cannot observe that cathode rays, but we'll code them. That is why pictures will be observed on television because of fluorescence on the television screen coated with certain fluorescent or phosphorescent materials. So if the electrical or magnetic field is absent, then these rays will travel in straight lines. Okay. Suppose if electrical field or magnetic field is not being given, then they will travel in exactly straight lines. In the presence of electrical or magnetic field, the behavior of cathode rays are similar to that expected from negatively charged particles. So suppose if electrical field is present or if magnetic field is present when these rays are passed, then the cathode rays behavior will be similar to negatively charged particles. So when the behavior of the cathode rays is similar to negative charged particles, it will suggest that the cathode ray consists of negatively charged particles called electrons, because we know that what are electrons? Electrons are negatively charged particles. So electrons are negatively charged particles means uh, when these electrons are being generated, so the behavior when electrical or magnetic field is present means the cathode rays will have which behavior? The cathode rays will have a behavior of negatively charged particles, and those negatively charged particles are called as electrons. So this was only our experiment, right? We wanted to know whether electrons are present or not, whether subatomic particles are present or not. So we got to know that electrons will be present in the cathode ray tubes. So the characteristics of cathode rays, that is electrons, do not depend upon the material of electrodes. Okay, it does not depend upon the material of electrodes and the nature of the gas present in the cathode ray tube. This is important. The characteristics of cathode rays. What are cathode rays called here? Electrons, because they are behaving as negatively charged particles. So how the cathode rays behave, that is not depending on the material of the electrode, and that is not depending on the nature of the gas present in the cathode ray tube. So we can conclude that electrons are basic constituent of all atoms. What do we mean by electrons are basic constituent of all atoms? We mean that all atoms will consist of electrons. So now let us see the next topic, charge to mass ratio of electron. So in 1897, a British physicist J.J. Thomson measured the ratio of electrical charge E to the mass of electron Me. Okay, charge, see ratio means numerator by denominator, that is uh, E by Me. Okay, ratio of electrical charge, कितना electrical charge है divided by कितना mass है electron का. How? By using cathode ray tube. So just now you saw a cathode ray tube. This cathode ray tube was used by another scientist, J.J. Thomson. Why he used it? To know the mass charge of the electron to the mass of the electron. He wanted to know क्या ratio है charge electron के charge का और mass of electron का. So he has used this cathode ray tube and applied electrical and magnetic field perpendicular to each other as well as to the path of electrons. So this is the same figure which we saw, right? This is the cathode tube and इसमें वो क्या करा? Electrical field और magnetic field perpendicular apply करा. Perpendicular means 90 degrees. अब ऐसा rays ऐसा जा रहे हैं यहाँ से, right? तो perpendicularly electrical और magnetic fields applied हुए. Okay, earlier magnetic and electric fields were not applied perpendicularly. Just इसमें ये था कि अगर electrical और magnetic field प्रेजेंट हो रही तो क्या हो रहा, पहले जो हम लोग को मालूम हुआ कंक्लूजन, और इलेक्ट्रिकल और मैग्नेटिक फील्ड एब्सेंट रही तो क्या हो रहा, हम लोग को मालूम कि इलेक्ट्रिकल और मैग्नेटिक फील्ड एब्सेंट हो रहा तो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स कैसा पास होते, स्ट्रेट पास होते. वो हम लोग देखे कहां से पास होते, कैथोड से एनोड तक, और कैथोड से एनोड तक. और अगर इलेक्ट्रिकल फील्ड और मैग्नेटिक फील्ड प्रेजेंट है उसका मतलब क्या है, ये कैथोड रे ट्यूब्स कैसा बिहेव करते, इलेक्ट्रॉन्स की तरह बिहेव करते. अब इन्हें क्या करा, जो जे थॉमसन है, कैथोड रे ट्यूब यूज करा और इलेक्ट्रिकल और मैग्नेटिक फील्ड्स को परपेंडिकुलर अप्लाई करा जब ये रेस पास हो रहे थे. अब उन्हें क्या देखा, व्हेन ओनली इलेक्ट्रिकल फील्ड इज अप्लाइड नॉट मैग्नेटिक फील्ड, द इलेक्ट्रॉन्स डिविएट फ्रॉम देयर पाथ. वो लोग अपने रास्ते से हट जा रहे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स और कहाँ हिट कर रहे, कैथोड रे ट्यूब एट पॉइंट ए पे हिट कर रहे. ये अपना कैथोड रे ट्यूब है यहाँ पे, ये अपना कैथोड है, यहाँ पे अपना एनोड है, यहाँ पे अपनी बैटरी है, ऐसा वो लोग जा रहे. ओनली दिस पार्ट वी सॉ इन द प्रीवियस 2 स्लाइड्स, राइट? दिस पार्ट, राइट? सो कैथोड यहाँ पे हाई वोल्टेज अप्लाई हो रहा, कैथोड से जा रहे, एनोड से जा रहे, फिर because the rays are perpendicular. We can say that वो लोग हट जा रहे, इलेक्ट्रिकल फील्ड अप्लाई कर रहे, खाली इलेक्ट्रिकल फील्ड अप्लाई कर रहे, तो लोग जाके हिट हो रहे और कहाँ पे हिट हो रहे, पॉइंट ए पे हिट हो रहे. Okay, so similarly, when only magnetic field is applied, electron strikes the cathode ray tube at point C. अगर हम लोग सिर्फ मैग्नेटिक फील्ड अप्लाई करेंगे, परपेंडिकुलर ही अप्लाई करें, लेकिन सिर्फ मैग्नेटिक फील्ड अप्लाई करेंगे तो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स जाएंगे और सिर्फ सी पे हिट करेंगे, यहाँ पे कैथोड रे ट्यूब पे. ठीक है. एंड देन व्हाट ही डिड इज ही वांटेड द इलेक्ट्रॉन्स टू ट्रैवल इन स्ट्रेट लाइंस. उसको पाथ से डिविएट नहीं करना था. अगर इलेक्ट्रिकल फील्ड अप्लाई करे तो डिविएट हो रहा और ए पे चले जा रहा, मैग्नेटिक फील्ड अप्लाई करे तो अगेन डिविएट हो रहा, सी पे चले जा रहा. उसको स्ट्रेट होना था. तो व्हाट ही डिड, he carefully balanced the electrical and magnetic field strength and it was possible to bring back the electron to the path. वो path में लाने में successful हुआ original path पे, which is followed in the absence of electrical or magnetic field and they hit the screen at point B. हम लोग को मालूम है कि अगर इलेक्ट्रिकल फील्ड और मैग्नेटिक फील्ड एब्सेंट रहा तो लोग स्ट्रेट लाइंस में ट्रैवल करते. तो व्हाट ही डिड इज उन्हें केयरफुली दोनों मिला के, मैग्नेटिक और इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड दोनों को यूज करके, परपेंडिकुलरली अप्लाई करके केयरफुली पास करा और देखा कि उन्हें स्ट्रेट लाइन में गया और बी पे हिट करे. So Thomson argued that the amount of deviation of the particles from their path in the presence of electrical or magnetic field depends upon these 3 points. Okay, कि डिविएशन किस पे डिपेंड हो रहा है, वो लोग कैसा डिविएट हो रहे, क्या क्या चीज पे डिपेंड हो रहा है, क्या क्या चीज पे डिपेंड हो रहे पार्टिकल्स डिविएशन. द मैग्नीट्यूड ऑफ द नेगेटिव चार्ज ऑन द पार्टिकल, कितनी वैल्यू है वो पार्टिकल पे चार्ज की, उसके ऊपर डिपेंड हो रहा. और क्या बोल रहा है यहाँ पे, जितना ज्यादा मैग्नीट्यूड ऑफ चार्ज है पार्टिकल पे उतना ज्यादा उन्हें इंटरैक्ट करेंगे इलेक्ट्रिकल और मैग्नेटिक फील्ड से और उतना ज्यादा डिफ्लेक्ट होगा. ठीक है, जितनी ज्यादा वैल्यू रहेंगी चार्ज की इलेक्ट्रॉन की उतना ज्यादा इलेक्ट्रॉन डिविएट होगा. दैट इज वन पॉइंट वी गॉट टू नो. देन द मास ऑफ द पार्टिकल, लाइटर द पार्टिकल ग्रेटर द डिफ्लेक्शन. ये जो अपने डिविएशन हो रहा, कितना डिविएट हो रहा है इलेक्ट्रॉन, किस पे डिपेंड हो रहा है, वो कितना मास है पार्टिकल का, कितना वेट है पार्टिकल का. अगर पार्टिकल लाइट वेट का रहा तो डिफ्लेक्शन ज्यादा रहेगा. थर्ड पॉइंट किस पे डिपेंड हो रहा, स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ द इलेक्ट्रिकल और मैग्नेटिक फील्ड. The deflection of electron from its original path increases with the increase in the voltage or across the electrodes, or the strength of the magnetic field, that is the deflection. के अगर जितना इलेक्ट्रॉन्स बहुत ज्यादा डिफ्लेक्ट होंगे अपने ओरिजिनल पाथ से, कब डिफ्लेक्ट होंगे, जब वो लोग का वोल्टेज इलेक्ट्रोड्स पे बढ़ा देंगे, जब वो लोग बहुत ज्यादा डिफ्लेक्ट होंगे. ये एक पॉइंट उन्हें और एक महसूस करा. ठीक है, कि स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ द इलेक्ट्रिकल और मैग्नेटिक फील्ड में बहुत ज्यादा डिपेंड करता कितना डिविएशन रहा. अगर इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड या मैग्नेटिक फील्ड दैट इज वोल्टेज ज्यादा रहेगा तो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स भी ज्यादा डिफ्लेक्ट होंगे. सो 3 थिंग्स, इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द मैग्नीट्यूड ऑफ द नेगेटिव चार्ज ऑन द पार्टिकल, इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द मास ऑफ द पार्टिकल एंड इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द strength of the electric and magnetic field, that is deflection of electron from its original path will increase if the voltage is increased across the electrodes. So by carrying out accurate measurements on the amount of deflections observed by the electrons on the electric field or magnetic field strength, Thomson was able to determine the value of E by me. हम लोग अभी देखे ना क्यों उन्हें कर रहा था, to know the ratio of charge of electron by mass of electron, that is E by me. तो उन्हें पूरा एक्सपेरिमेंट करने के बाद उसको क्या मालूम हुआ कि E by me का रेशियो की वैल्यू मालूम हो गई उसको. What value he got for ratio of charge of electron to mass of electron? 1.7588820 into 10 power 11 coulomb per kg. This is coulomb and this is per kg. This is power 11. It should come in power. Okay. So where what is me here? Me is known as mass of electron and it is measured in kg, and E is the magnitude of the charge on the electron and is measured in coulomb. Since the electrons are negatively charged, the charge on the electron is minus E. Okay. Now let us see about the charge on the electron. Do you know who discovered the charge on the electron? Charge means how much magnitude it is having. So R.A. Millikan, 1868 to 1953, he discovered a method and he named it as oil drop experiment in the year 1906 to 1914 to determine the charge on the electrons. So the method which was used to determine the charge on the electrons is known as oil drop experiment, and it was discovered by R.A. Millikan. He found the charge on the electron to be minus 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb. We all know this value, we have been studying from lower classes. The present accepted value of electrical charges, so after him some additions were made and some decimal point numbers were added to it. minus 1.6021176 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb is the present accepted value of electrical charge. The mass of the electron Me was determined by combining these results with Thomson's value of E by Me ratio. Thomson had found out the ratio of charge of electron by mass of electron. He found it to be 1.75882 into 10 power 11 coulomb per kg, we just now saw. And Millikan, he discovered the value of a charge of electron to be minus 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb. So the value of mass of electron Me was found out by dividing the ratio of E by Me, because E by Me means Me will go in numerator, so E will get cancelled. So we will get to know the value of Me because Me will go in numerator. So E value is this 1.602 into 10 power minus 19 coulomb by E by Me value is 1.758820 into 10 power 11 coulomb per kg. When we divide these both, we get to know the mass of the electron is 9.1094 into 10 power minus 31 kg. So this is how the mass of the electron was discovered. All these values are very important. Now let us see what was the Millikan's oil drop method. So this apparatus which you see, this was used in Millikan's oil drop method. So in this method, oil droplets in the form of mist produced by the atomizer. Here we see this is called as atomizer. What is it doing? It is producing droplets of mist and they were allowed to enter through a tiny hole in the upper plate of electrical condenser. This is our electrical condenser and this is our upper plate of electrical condenser, light blue colored one, and orange one is the lower plate of electrical condenser. A hole is made on the upper plate of electrical condenser and the mists are allowed to flow from atomizer to the upper plate of the condenser, and here a hole is made. So as the hole is made here, what will happen? The mist will flow in the downward direction from this hole, and that will be seen by a telescope which is attached here. When these mist will be going in the downward direction from this hole, a person will stand here and he will observe the downward direction of the mist droplets with the help of telescope. So by measuring the rate of fall of these droplets, that is at what speed these mists are falling, by measuring that, Millikan was able to measure the mass of oil droplets. So by measuring rate of electrons, he got to know mass of oil droplets. So the air inside the chamber was ionized by passing a beam of X-rays through it. We are ionizing it, the air. It is being made according to the nature of the electrons, air inside the condenser. Now the electrical charge on these oil droplets was acquired by collisions with gaseous ions. Gaseous ions were filled inside it. Okay, so the fall of these charged oil droplets can be retarded. That is, it can be stopped. The oil droplets can be made to stop, or they can be made to move, that is accelerated, or they can be made stationary depending upon the charge of the droplets and the polarity and strength of the voltage applied to the plate. So this is our charged plate, the downward plate, orange colored one is charged plate. As it is having charges on it, it is called as voltage plate. So based on the strength of this voltage and based on how much charge the droplets are having, that will by that, if you know that, we can either make the oil droplets to stop, or we can make the oil droplets to run. Okay, so by carefully measuring the effects of electrical field strength on the motion of oil droplets, electricity is being produced from this charged plate. So how much electrical field strength is being produced from these charged plates? By that, Millikan concluded that the magnitude of electrical charge Q on the droplets is always an integral multiple of the electrical charge E. That is, he made the formula Q is equals to NE. Q is known as charge of electron, N is number, it can be any number, and E is electrons. So here we can say that charge and electrons are directly proportional to each other. N can be any number, 1, 2, 3, etc. So this is the figure which with Millikan oil drop apparatus is used for measuring electron. In chamber, the forces acting on oil drop are basically gravitational forces and electrostatic forces. Why they are gravitational and electrostatic? Due to electrical field and a viscous drag force when the oil drop is moving. Okay. Next we have discovery of protons and neutrons. So electrical discharge carried out in the modified cathode ray tube led to discovery of canal rays carrying positively charged particles. So positively charged particles, as we made a discovery on the cathode ray tube, it led to discovery of canal rays. cathode ray tube dealt with negatively charged electrons. Now canal rays will discover about positively charged particles. Now electron topic is over. We are going to study about protons and neutrons. So the characteristics of these positively charged particles are, unlike cathode rays, that is unlike electron rays, mass of positively charged particles depends upon the nature of gas present in the cathode ray tube. These are simply the positively charged gaseous ions. So based on the mass of this gas which is present in the cathode ray tube, that will depend upon mass of this positively charged particles will depend upon the nature of the gas which is present in the cathode ray tube. We know cathode ray tubes consist of gases because of that only electricity is being produced. We saw that, right? So these are simply the positively charged gaseous ions. The ions which are produced in the gaseous atmosphere, those were called as positively charged gaseous ions. The charge to mass ratio of the particles depends on the gas from which they originate. So it is charge to mass ratio of protons is not always same. It depends on the gas which is originating. Some of the positively charged particles carry a multiple of the fundamental unit of electrical charge. That is, here also positively charged particle is directly proportional to electrical charge. That is, we can say proton is equals to N into E here also. The behavior of these particles in the magnetic or electrical field is opposite to the observed for electron or cathode rays. Okay, how the magnetic and electric field was observed in the cathode rays? Here the behavior of these protons will be opposite. So we can say protons and electrons are exactly opposite to each other in behavior. The smallest and lightest positive ion was obtained from hydrogen and was called proton. So from hydrogen we got the smallest and lightest positive ion, and that we called as proton. So this positively charged particle was characterized in 1919. Later, a need was felt for the presence of electrically neutral particle as one of the constituent of atom. Now we had negatively charged particles, that is electrons. We had positively charged particles, that is protons. We needed one more type of particle that would not neither be negative and that would neither be positive. So by that we got neutral particle. We wanted to develop a neutral particle, and scientists were discovering that particle. So these particles were discovered by Chadwick 1932 by bombarding a thin sheet of beryllium by alpha particles. So he kept a thin sheet and on that he made beryllium particles to fall. Okay, so when electrically neutral particles having a mass slightly greater than that of protons were emitted. So we got to know that the mass of the neutrons are slightly more than the mass of the protons. So he named the particles which were generated when compared to the mass of protons heavy, they name them as neutrons. So the important properties of all these fundamental particles. What are the fundamental particles? Subatomic particles. That is the particles which are present in the atom. Those are called as fundamental particles. This you have to remember. This table is very important, and this is the last part of the presentation. So we have electron, proton, neutron. The symbol for electron is Z. The absolute charge on the electron is minus 1.602 into 10 power minus 19. Relative charge is minus 1. Mass is 9.1 into 10 power 30 minus 31. Mass that is in U. When the unit of mass is U, then it will be 0.00054 for electron, and approximate mass that is by small u, then it is 0. Okay, we have different units of masses. Proton P plus 1.602 into 10 power minus 19. Why is it plus? Because proton is positively charged particle. Relative charge will be plus 1. Mass is 1.6726 into 10 power minus 27. Mass by U is 1.00727. Approximate mass is 1. For neutron N, absolute charge is 0 because it is neither positive neither negative. Relative charge is 0. Mass by kg is 1.674 into 10 power minus 27. Mass by U is 1.00867. Approximate mass is 1. So this was about electrons, protons, neutrons, about Dalton's atomic theory and the like. Hope you have understood today's lecture. If you understood today's lecture, then please
like, share, subscribe, click that bell icon.
Thank you very much for watching. We'll meet again in the next lecture. Hope you're understanding this lecture. If you have any doubt, then please comment below.